everybody, and thank you for joining us today for our Bytes Learning Services webinar, where we'll be introducing the IMC process guide. So joined with me today we have Rachel Gill, who is our Learning Services Manager here at Bytes, and we've also got Coven and Helco from IMC, who will be going through the IMC process guide itself and going through the demo with you. So I'm now going to hand over to Rachel Gill from Bytes Software Services, who's just going to go through a little bit more about Bytes Learning Services.
Thank you, Sarah. Hi, I'm Rachel Gill, the Learning Services Manager at Bytes Software Services. For people who aren't aware of who Bytes Software Services are, here's just a summary of our group structure. We, as you can see on the bottom left-hand side, Bytes Software Services, we are based in the UK and we have our UK partners as well, Bytes Security Partnerships. So Bytes Software Services, we have 5 offices here in the UK with approximately 200 staff. We were founded in 1982 and we have over 2,000 happy customers. And we're Microsoft UK's #1 reseller. So what do we do? So here's some information on our areas that we focus on. The 3 core areas are our licensing procurement, software asset management, and our learning services training. So with reference to the Bytes Learning Services, as UK's largest Microsoft licensing authorised reseller, we understand Microsoft software and training better than most training providers. We're a well-established team with over 15 years training experiences helping our customers. We pride ourselves on our unrivaled customer services. We're independent, so we're always offering you more choice. Managing our customers' Microsoft Software Assurance benefits, we seek to leverage these benefits and the e-learning solutions, making the most out of your software assurance. We offer our customers easy access to all forms of software training that include online training, e-learning, on-site and off-site training. So if we have a look at our blended Microsoft desktop training, we offered a blending experience that can be customized for your needs, from, as mentioned, additional classroom hands-on training, seminar presentations to e-learning. Today's webinar is to introduce one of our online training partners, IMC. The product they will be demonstrating today, Process Guide, is one of our recommended EPSS performance support software solutions. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to hand over to IMC, Coven, who will give you a summary of IMC, then we'll then go through the demonstration. Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel. So Helco, if you can bring up the slides on the screen, that would be great. So good morning, everyone. My name is Coven Minion, and I work for a company called IMC, together with Helco Lehmann, my colleague from IMC Germany. So IMC, as a company, I'd just like to kickstart with a quick introduction. So Helco, if you go to the next slide. Quick introduction about IMC for those who've never heard about us. So IMC is a predominantly German company, founded in 1997 in a small town called Saarbrücken in Germany. And throughout the years we have offices now in many parts of the world, including in London, where I'm actually based. IMC is we consider ourselves a full service provider in e-learning, so training and e-learning, and we provide services and software solutions in order to help businesses use training and e-learning in the workplace. So we have now over 1,000 customers using our products and services worldwide, with 4 million users amongst those 1,000 customers, and our software and services are provided in multiple languages, and we also offer 24/7 support on our products. So if you go to the next slide, Helco. Just an overview of our product portfolio and what we actually do. So we started mainly as with our learning and talent management system, and then gradually we moved to providing further services and actually creating new products to help in the learning industry. So from the learning and talent management system, we created an authoring tool, Content Studio, which is a rapid authoring tool for creating SCORMS-based e-learning content, which is also in HTML format, HTML5 format. And then we also created a software, an EPSS solution that we call Process Guide, and which is what we are going to demo today, which provides you with context-sensitive information within an application and helps you overall with business support, business process support within applications. Aside from our software offerings, we help create bespoke e-learning content in any kind of format that our customers wish, going from simple e-learning HTML files to SCORM to more complex 3D and animations and videos. We're also very big on compliance learning, so we have products, so our learning management system and our e-learning content are very focused on compliance learning, with many customers in the legal sector, in pharmaceutical and financial sectors. Falco, next slide, please. So just quickly to show you some of our customers on the references slide here. So we go from small, medium to big enterprises, ranging from corporate sectors to private sectors. So we work with different type of sectors. You will notice, you will see some of the big names on that slide. So all of those are happy customers of IMC's products and services. Okay, so as I said today, so we'll be focusing on Process Guide, which is our solution, or our EPSS solution, and actually our solution to the problem of how to manage training in a smarter way and a better way. Now, throughout research and throughout all the years of IMC, our personal experience have shown us that a lot of companies put a lot of effort into formal training, and this is where most of the time people and companies will invest the money in. However, when we look back at the training that are provided and the effectiveness of the training, we realize that formal training is not actually the best kind of training that you can provide in all situations. So Process Guide really is targeted at software training, so training users to use different software in a company setting, and also to manage business processes. And throughout the demo, throughout the presentation and the demo later on, hopefully we can demonstrate and we can show you how Process Guide can enhance training there in that arena. So if you move to the next slide, so just a pie chart here from different sources, which shows how formal learning stacks up against informal learning. So as I said before, our experience is very much supports that in terms of the effectiveness of formal learning. So formal learning in all its form, that could be an e-learning training, classroom training, any type of static manuals or documentation about using certain applications or going through certain business processes. And actually what we find is that most training benefits is being received from experience or from outside sources, or what we call informal learning. So that can be through trial and error by using the application or going through a business process, or just learning from your colleagues. Okay, next slide. So let's just take a practical example of this and how informal learning can, or formal learning is not most adequate for every type of training. So we probably all have been through those kind of classroom training where you sit through static slides or do some practice sessions over the course of a couple of days to learn how to go through a business process. or how to use complex enterprise software like SAP or CRM systems. So what usually happens is you're doing those training maybe as part of your induction or part of a planned training session with actually no knowledge, no prior knowledge to the software itself. So you just go in, sit down, sit through the classroom training, and what happens then is when you actually need to use that software in a real life scenario, you're actually confused about what you're doing and you forget what you've actually learned in that classroom setting. So the challenges really in any kind of software training and business process training is first identify and train the right person on the right topic in the right way. So we all learn at a different pace, we all learn differently, and also people usually tend to have different knowledge levels across the company. So usually formal training, although, well, even though if it's well structured, you can try to target people in very effective ways. Sometimes it's difficult and it's actually costly to do that. So using an EPSS solution, you can actually reduce the classroom training and also save time. Also, an EPSS solution can help you guide your users through complex business processes and software landscapes. So if someone needs to go through, let's say, different applications in order to do a workflow and follow different steps, rather than actually going through slides or through complex and long documentation, we can, through an EPSS solution, provide context-sensitive help as and when the user needs it. And this just helps boost productivity overall, reduces errors, but also reduces frustration from your employees. And also, finally, from an enterprise perspective, that continuous training after your go live, or once your software solution is live and ready for use, means that your users are always up to date. You don't need to plan formal training at regular intervals. Whenever there is an update to your application or your business process, you can just push that out to your end users. So overall, what that does is it helps you as a company save money through training methodologies. Next slide, please. So in a few minutes, I'll pass over to Helke, who's going to demo a process guide and a practical use case of how process guide works. So just a few benefits of our electronic performance system, so process guide. So it does support people in their day-to-day work and allows you to support users through multiple applications. So we're not limited, as many other EPSS solutions, to supporting single applications. We are really able to support multiple applications across different landscapes. You can also target applications and target training via that EPSS solution to different users, so based on their experience or based on their role within the company. We allow you to use context-sensitive training, so providing the training to your end users as and when they actually need it in a very nice and inobtrusive way. And this also helps coach your users and also enhances support, because what the EPSS solution then allows you to do is, if a user is having issues while using an application or a business process, they can actually contact you directly and ask for help. And this just enhances compliance on the job, and this is very bearing in mind compliance scenarios in IT and any kind of proof that you need to have in order to prove that your employees have gone through certain types of training. Okay, so we'll now move on to the system overview. So this slide just gives you a very quick overview of the system and what it actually does at a very top level. So I'm just going to skip that and pass over to Helco really to go through the process guide system with you in a live demo and hopefully show you the benefits of that application and how it can boost your productivity for your employees and also save you money in the long run from a training and from a training perspective.
Welcome everyone to this webinar. So I will continue with the demo. You have actually seen the tool already, not in action, but lazily on the side of my desktop during the presentation of Gobain. So on the right here you see this tool, and it will remain there for most of the time unless you actually need help or we come into these scenarios that are more compliance related. Nevertheless, I will show you a little bit already how it works here before we see it really in action, in the context-sensitive action. So it also has non-contextual information that it can provide. In this case, for example, you see that actually at the moment everything, all the indicators are gray except this one here, and this says that there is basically only general information available and no contextual information, because none of the applications that are currently on focus are annotated with the contextual information. Nevertheless, this can be very useful. So this information that is available here can be, for example, used to push welcome messages, guides of how to use the tool itself, or even general access information to phone numbers, help desk, or whatever. It is just to show you basically this could be also an entry point. If the application starts, you will also be confronted with, as an end user, with this tool and the information that is available. Unless you have seen that information already, then the tool knows that also. So what is happening actually when I'm interacting now with software? That's what I want to show you. So, for example, I'm clicking on my desktop. So I'm a new user, for example, and I'm the first time opening my laptop or my computer, and I can access my desktop and the applications that are pre-installed for me. So what you see is the tool automatically detected this change of focus, and it displays information related to that desktop. It tells me, for example, that I can hover over some icons on the desktop to know more about it. It tells me also that I can personalize my desktop in a number of ways. You can also see here this is a kind of a card scheme, so you have multiple cards. Each one has its own information content, kind of microlearning nugget in it, and this can be any kind of content that you have in there that you know from HTML, so it can have embedded images, links, etc. I'm just having here an image, for example, which illustrates where I can find the actual function to change my desktop image. I will not go and do this now. I think we focus on more interesting features. And it's not the personalization that interests us here, but the information can be found basically by a new user. This is basically application level information. I can have more information associated with specific items. So, for example, here I associated some information with the recycle bin, and you can see that there's a question mark popping up. That's actually process guide. It's indicating that there is information available. If I hover over this, then I get a kind of tooltip. So here, for example, it gives me a hint of how the recycle bin works. The most important information here is being probably that you have to empty the recycle bin to actually get rid of the data eventually. So could be an interesting information to share, but you can attach, of course, information to all kinds of other elements. And I will show you this also in other applications. So, for example, I'm using now Word, And what you can see here is that while the guide is actually not open, you can still see that the indicator is showing that there is contextual information. In this case, there is information on this window level available. So what you can associate, for example, with applications or with specific windows is certain templates. This would make sense, for example, for Word. You can open this, assume I'm a new user, I don't really know what to do with these templates, I want to do something else, I'm just opening this application to write a letter or whatever. Nevertheless, maybe I know Office 2010, but I don't know Office 2013. So it is possible to associate information specifically only to the things that have changed. I associated this here, for example, with this insert function. Sorry, this is a German version of Word, but I think you appreciate it anyway. So with the insert tab, for example, I added an information that explains me the difference between Word 2013 and Word 2010, which is, for example, that there is the possibility to add apps for Office and how I can access this. So, for example, so again here I can place those learn nuggets. So if the user is going over these apps, this new area in the ribbon bar of Office 2013 in the insert section, then you can see some explanation for this new features. So what I'm trying to show you here with this very simple contextual information example, that you can associate information for your end users on application, on window or form level, and as well as on individual user interface elements. And it works over all applications. So it works for the desktop, it works for Office applications, it works on the web for web applications or for all kinds of other applications that that you may have. And it works also without any explicit support through that application. Yeah. So all the information that I've shown you so far can be also tailored to specific roles that are basically provided by your identity management system to a certain user. It can be additionally specific also to processes. This we will see in a minute. But let me go through a few other examples first. So with another type of information. So I'm opening now, for example, as a new user, a browser. So I've never used in my company, say IMC, a browser before. And then what you will see now is that in this case the process guide popped up and automatically displays me a note. So this is another kind of information. It's not only help information, but actually information that I'm forced to read. Authors that provide such information usually have some kind of compliance scenarios in mind. So in this case, for example, when I'm using in the company network, then I'm supposed to read first the internet guidelines. There can be all kinds of information available in such a note. For example, I have here a WBT, so an e-learning content that I can click on directly from the tool, and I can basically follow this information security course and so on. I'm not going into detail. I just want to show you what kind of content you can link there. You can also create links to other websites, for example, here the website of Microsoft about the creation of strong passwords and how to do that. So, and when I'm basically done with all this, then I can decide as an end user to actually acknowledge this and get rid of this message. If I do not acknowledge it now, then I have to acknowledge it later at some point. Otherwise, I cannot leave this tool. It will also remind me always, in this case, when I'm using a browser, that there is this open guideline acknowledgement. This is a possibility of content if the author decides to publish it in this way. The user may also not acknowledge this, of course, but for compliance purposes, all these acknowledgements or rejections of acknowledgements, they are logged in an audit log, so they can be used later to refer to the compliance rules and whether they have been observed. So I'm acknowledging this now and continue. This is not only possible on a web-based or on a window level. We can also imagine this on a element level. I'm showing you this kind of compliance scenarios also in the case, for example, of writing an email. So you may have things that are not necessary for compliance, so they have more optional character as information. So for example, when I'm a new user and I need to add a signature to my email, then I could get again help information of how these signatures should look like. So in such a help, oops, this was a bit too fast. So I can also select, for example, this and put it in my email or in actually the respective email template if I want to do that. So this is it's an optional information. If I know that already, I don't need this. But for example, if I the first time want to send something, then you see here when I hover over the send button in the email, then you will see an auto pop-up similar to the browser internet guideline information. You will see here that I have to observe actually the email policy. So again, I can read the respective document, and when I'm done, then I can actually acknowledge this and continue working. So that's also by the author a decision whether he wants to actually show this kind of obligation or messages to be acknowledged all the time, or whether he wants to show that only once for new users, or whether this should be repeated occasionally in a certain time, for example on a daily level or something like that. This depends entirely on the actual scenario that you need. So I think in terms of guidelines, as long as they don't change, for example, you may want to show that only once for new users, but in the case you have changed the guidelines and all your users need to observe this kind of change, then you can also automatically get these new guidelines deployed to your users. So if, for example, someone changes now the actual original message, then automatically all users will receive this message to be confirmed or to be acknowledged again. Yeah. So this all was a bit assuming that the user knows actually what application he is actually supposed to use for his business processes. So more general things, typically email or Word or something like this. But of course, there can be more complex business processes that involve multiple applications, or the user may not even know which application to use to do anything for his business process that he's responsible for. One example, for example, is that the user may know though a form that is related to a business process. So he knows that, well, for example, he has to, if he's a salesperson, he has to write an offer where he uses a certain template. He got that template from some colleague or something like that, and he opens this template. So now you see that actually the process guide again indicates that there is some contextual information available. So I can look at it if it's, for example, the first time, or I do this very rarely, and I can't remember what I did last time here, and I can see actually an information that is quite interesting, and that is that there's a process available for that current window, and it's it's called IMC sales, create a new opportunity. And assuming that this is exactly what I want to do, because this document is part of that workflow, and that's why I opened this form in the first place, then I can, for example, also directly either go to the process as such, or I go even to the step that that this document is referring to. The description of the process, of course, tells me whether it's really the process that I need to do. But we assume that this is the case. And now I see actually that there are three process steps in this business process, and I'm basically, the form is only related to the second, so I should actually have a look at the first. What do I have to actually do? And so this guide tells me now, there is an opportunity that I have to create in a tool that is called Salesforce. Maybe I don't know this Salesforce tool, so I can actually open this with this link. Now you see a web application that that is displayed and opened in the browser. And now you can also see, even when you slide this process guide tool out to have more space on the screen, you see that actually there's a process, the process navigator is running, and there's a process selected, and it's my create new opportunity business process. So now I mentioned before that we can not only detect context in terms of or it's not only considered the context of an application or a user interface element, but we also consider the process context. So here now, for example, I have information available that is for this specific business process relevant, for this specific field and for this specific form. If the same form, for example, is used in another business process, then you may also associate completely different information to this field. And the same applies, of course, also to the roles, but I mentioned that before. So, for example, for opportunity name, the user may not know what is the format of this. So, for example, there's a list of say, valid names associated from which I can pick one, or I have to create a new one. All this information is available there. And the same is, I have a few other information associated with other things, for example, with the account name, and so on. What is also quite interesting is this one here. So I have here a close date, and the tool allows you also to provide a type of validation for text fields. So, for example, as you can see now, the frame around this turned from gray to green, indicating that it's correct according to the process guide's validation information. Yeah. This does not prevent that you put any other data in there, because the tool is working not in a way that is forcing you to do things, so it's not actually interacting that deeply with the application, it's not meant to. But it can indicate you still whether something is correct or not. Assume now that there is some information as a new user you don't know. For example, what is a forecast category? So then in the context of this, I want to show another little feature of the process guide that that can help also if information that the end user needs is actually not available in the process guide. So here we don't know what it is because we are a new user and we have never done this before. We do this very rarely and we've forgotten it. So we can actually use the process guide, for example, by using a feature that we call conversations here, to speak directly to the help desk. Now we don't do that here by phone, but we do that with a message. And we do this in contrast to other help desk tools and or by phone. We do this in a context sensitive way. So I'm creating here a new message. I want to ask the help desk, what is the forecast category? I wrote something wrong, category. So, do I have to add here? Now you, oops, no, sorry about that. Forecast category. What is this? And now you can imagine that the help desk will not know at all what you're talking about because he doesn't see what you see on the screen. And to help the end user to basically describe the context and the help desk, of course, on the other hand, to understand what context you're in, you can actually add a contextual screenshot. So I'm highlighting this, basically I'm going with this arrow here on the forecast category and create a screenshot. And when you see this screenshot, then you see here that everything is grayed out, but you can still recognize what application, etc. is used. And there's a highlight on this forecast category. So the help desk can actually see what you were talking about and what you're referring to. Okay. So now I have sent basically this this question. Assume for the demo purposes now that I'm actually continuing working and it doesn't disturb me here in my continuation of the process. Of course, otherwise I would need to have to wait and do something else in the meantime. Now you notice, well, I went to the to this conversation feature to send this message, but the tool reminds me actually that I still have this form open, and there's a business process that this belongs to. So, and it asked me whether I want to continue with this, which I want to do. Assume I filled this out, so I'm going now to the next step. And this is actually where we came from. So we have we started actually with this template for an offer to actually access this process. But don't forget, this template may have come from a colleague or from anywhere or from another offer that has been written 2 years ago, and maybe it's out of date. So it's actually much better to link it through this business process, because there the author can ensure of this business process that there's always the up-to-date template. So instead of using this one from here, I better use this one from here. Yeah. So now again, I can do very specific to this business process. I can add information here. I want to show you this here before you saw that I had only some information on this insert ribbon bar. Now for this specific business process, I have actually, and for this specific form, I have actually some additional information. And because this business process is selected, I can see this also. So here, for example, I have to observe for this template here, corporate design guidelines and a specific font. And just to show you a little bit what you can also refer to in this kind of links within the tool, you can, for example, also link to the actual font and make sure that the user can install that. Yeah, so all this kind of things you can do from within notes that you publish to your end users. When you continue then in this business process, I'm closing these things now. When you continue in this business process, of course, you can continue here and so on. I don't want to go into the details here. Here, the third part is would be SharePoint. Again, it would be a website, would be very similar. So I don't want to go into details here. I want to show you basically how this looks when how it looks when the user does also not know which form to use and also which basically application to use. He has still possible entry points and to access business process that he's responsible for. So he can access this actually through here. So here he has a list of all the business processes that are published for him, so for his role. So he doesn't see business processes that are not relevant to him. He sees only the ones that are relevant for him. So here's the one that I just used as an example here to guide through. But there may be other ones, for example, this one, which I'll show you a little bit later, very briefly only. So this information is also available, this catalog of business processes is also available from the guide, of course, from the top toolbar. So there is, so we have basically different ways of accessing information. One is contextual, when I know the application. Another one is contextual, when I know, for example, the documents that are involved. A third one is to access this through business processes that are associated with me, with my role. And there may be other information that is relevant to me that is not linked to any software application and any business process. Such information can be also published to end users. We use for this and these channels here. So, for example, here you can subscribe to a number of channels that are again available to your role. So you will not see channels that are not available to your role. And you see an aggregated view of those. So if there's a new message pushed into a channel by an author, then you will also receive this and see this in this view. And apart from that, you may also want to search, of course, for information. Here you can integrate all kinds of search, including Wikipedia, YouTube, and SharePoint, or your local SharePoint searches. This is all possible. At the moment, I don't want to show you this because you have seen all these searches already, but you haven't seen the process guidance search. So I'm looking here now for example, something like travel. Assume that I have to travel. I have to do some business travel, and I want to know what the process or what the things are about this. So I see here the link, and as we all click usually only on the first link, I'm clicking directly, for example, on this travel form. And now you see something else happening automatically, and that's basically a note that there is a mandatory process available for this form. So this is the application for business travel of IMC, the form, a very simple form. And however, I get this message that there is this mandatory process. Why is that mandatory? Well, the description tells me that it's related to foreign travel. So assume before, of course, I acknowledge this. I want to have a look at this process. And again, I get a process description like the one you have seen before. And so I here see actually what is the mandatory thing I need to consider. Well, if I, for example, plan to travel to China, North Korea, or US, then I have to make sure that I have read those guidelines. Now, assume that I'm not, I don't need to do that. I don't need to travel to the US, China, or North Korea, so I can acknowledge this and continue with what I was doing. And now all what I've shown you so far is basically the functions of the end user guide. Yeah? So we haven't spoken about authoring, or we haven't spoken about the management of the whole system. The tool is linked, of course, to a server from where this information that you see here is pushed. The tool works also offline, nevertheless, and occasionally basically requests new information. I will show you now, for the purpose of the help desk workflow, quickly the author tool. Nevertheless, we won't have time to go into more details on that, so this we would need for something else. However, I still want to show you this quickly. So I open here the authoring tool. Now I'm in the role of an help desk employee. So in this tool I have several sections that are all related to the content types that you have seen that the author can create here for his end users. And I've shown you also this conversation that I created as an end user, and now we see this basically as an help desk employee. So here you see there are unassigned conversations, and one is new. You can see this on the orange mark here, and as the help desk employee I can see actually and the screenshot also, and understand for which application and which workflow, etc. the information is required. And what I can do now is do something very simple. I can go, for example, to this workflow, open the link, and add new information onto this. So now I showed you quickly how you can actually create a contextual trigger. So now you have this contextual trigger as an author. And I quickly create I will not go into detail and write something useful here, but I think you get the idea. And now we have in the authoring tool, we have possibilities to have quite complex workflows for publishing and authoring. So you can actually configure it so that it provides 4i workflows, but I'm not doing this here now. I just release this information now because I have the rights to do this on my system here. And I will tell I can say, that's actually me who's working on that. These are mine, and then I reply something to the end user. I added a contextual help for you and all salespeople. Yeah. So, and I sent this information. Now we switch back. For last time, we switch back to the end user client. So this is the end user. Occasionally, this tool, as I said, will update the content automatically, but I'm enforcing this now here by requesting the server to update me with content. And you can see basically that that there was an orange display of the conversation icon here, which indicates that there's new information. So I can look at this, and I get basically the message from the help desk back that he added some contextual help there. So if I go under the assumption that I'm in the correct business process, which I'm not, I'm going to the sales business process. Okay, and I'm here on this first step where this form was related. So I can now go over this form and see the information that has been just provided by the help desk employee. Yeah? So I think according to the time we are. I showed you what I could in this period of time, so that we have still a few minutes for questions. Of course, there are a lot of more workflows that I can show you on the authoring side. There are also a couple of other features that in the end user that I couldn't show you in that time. For example, end user notes, private notes that users can associate to context, as well as ratings. And of course, there's a lot of information also available for administrators that can access the audit log and for compliance scenarios or also other user activities.
Perfect, lovely. Thank you very much for that. We have had a couple of questions that have come through, so I will just get those up now and we can then go through those. So the first question that we have had is, we have a range of internal ASP.NET websites that staff require guidance on. I'm guessing the answer is yes, but can you embed this within an ASP.NET application?
Well, in principle, it should be possible. We are currently working on a web client, which we will release towards the end of this year. And such a web client could be potentially added to any other application that is web-based. Yeah. So I would say by the end of the year we definitely could. The question is how you want to deploy this with your web application. There are different options, as for example extensions of the browser, or as embedded in the web application. And in some cases also there are other options. For example, SharePoint allows SharePoint apps that can be actually directly as apps be integrated in the website. But this would need to be then discussed in the project. But we will provide this tool that you have seen by the end of this year as a tool that can be used in the browser.
Lovely, thank you. And another question.
For any website that you have.
Sorry, and the final question that we've got come through says, can this integrate with processes in other workflow systems, e.g. Top Desk, or do the processes need to be present in Process Guide as well?
This is probably referring to the information that is already available in other process modeling tools. There are ways of reading out this process descriptions into Process Guide. However, this needs to be done on a per project basis, because the actual abstraction level of those processes, how they are described, for example, in an organization, usually is not specific to a certain user view of the process and not specific to basically providing help in the respective software applications. So there is something that you need to fill basically in saying what is the process description that you have in your company and what is actually the information that can be useful in the process guide for the end user. And this has to be filled, I think, in the project. And so there are possible ways of reading out process descriptions from tools that you were mentioned, but they generally cannot be used directly as a structure for process kinds of end users. Yeah.
Okay, lovely. That's all of the questions that we've had today. So firstly, thank you everybody for joining us, and thank you very much Rachel, Kovan and Helco for presenting for us today.